They don't fear your anger, they fear your silence. Let that one sink in, my friends. Not your begging, not your shouting, not your pain-filled explanations. No, what rattles them the most is when you stop reacting altogether. You see, people don't actually want your truth. They want your reaction. They want the tears, the long texts, the late-night phone calls. Because as long as you're reacting, they know they still have access to your energy, to your heart, to your mind. But the second you stop, the moment you go silent, that's when their world starts shaking. So before we go deeper, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just for your ears, it's for your soul. Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into a room and there's a fire alarm blaring, loud, chaotic, impossible to ignore. Everyone's looking around, trying to figure out what's going on. Now imagine you walk into the same room the next day, and this time it's completely silent, still, but you smell smoke. No noise, no alarm, just that quiet, creeping danger. And suddenly, the silence is more terrifying than the noise. That silence, that's you now. When you stop reacting, you stop being predictable. You stop being the fire alarm they've learned to tune out. You become the smoke, subtle, powerful, undeniable. And that's what wakes them up. We've been fed a lie, my friends, that if you love them enough, explain yourself enough, cry hard enough, they'll finally see your worth. But what has that ever brought you? Exhaustion, confusion, feeling like you're too much for someone who was never enough for you. You were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. And here's what they never tell you. Your silence is not weakness. It's control. It's choosing your peace over their chaos. It's standing still while they spiral. It's watching them try to poke you, provoke you, pull you back into their game, and giving them nothing. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And what's more, unlike them, than silence, than self-respect, than choosing to walk away without a single word. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to argue to prove your point. You don't need to fight for a spot in someone's life who never even saved you a seat. Because when you stop reacting, they finally feel the impact of what they took for granted. And that's the fun part. Watching their face when they realize the person they could once trigger with a single word is now unbothered, unmoved, untouched. You've gone from easy access to rare energy. And rare energy, that doesn't chase, that doesn't explain, that doesn't beg to be seen. So let them wonder, let them feel the stillness, let them sit in the silence they created. Because your silence, that's not the end of the story, that's the beginning of your power. Say it with me. I choose silence. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me, because we're just getting started. Number 1. Reaction is their fuel. Silence is your weapon. The moment you stop reacting is the moment they start losing control. Let that one land, my friends, deep in your chest. Because here's a truth many won't tell you. Most people don't argue to understand you. They argue to provoke you, to control you, to keep you emotional, off balance, second-guessing yourself. You think they're confused? You think they don't realize how they make you feel? Oh, they do. That's the trick. They know exactly how to push your buttons. And every time you react, every time you cry, yell, explain, defend, you give them what they really want, proof that they still have power over you. Hey folks, imagine this. Picture someone standing in front of you, holding a remote. And with each button they press, you respond. One button makes you angry. Another makes you anxious. Another makes you explain yourself again and again. They don't even have to speak. They just press. And you react, like clockwork. But one day, they press the button and nothing happens. Again, nothing. Now they're confused. Now they panic. The control they used to have, gone. That, my friends, is what your silence does. They didn't fear your shouting. They didn't fear the long, emotional texts. They didn't fear the late-night calls. They expected it. They counted on it. But your silence, that catches them off guard. That's what they don't know how to handle. Because silence, that's not passive. That's powerful. And I know what you're thinking. But if I don't say anything, how will they know they hurt me? If I don't defend myself, won't they think I'm weak? If I don't react, does that mean I'm okay with what they did? Let me stop you right there. Those questions, they come from fear. Fear that your silence isn't loud enough. Fear that if you don't fight for your place, you'll disappear. Fear that not reacting means surrender. But here's the truth. Reacting doesn't prove your strength. It proves your availability. And when someone has already shown they don't value you, being emotionally available to them is not strength. It's self-destruction. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your power lies not in the noise you make, but in what you refuse to respond to." Let's talk about why it's so hard. Because reacting feels like doing something. Silence? That feels like doing nothing. And when your heart is screaming, when your ego is bruised, when your worth feels questioned, doing nothing feels impossible. It feels like giving up. But silence isn't doing nothing. It's doing everything. It's choosing you. It's choosing to not give them access to your soul every time they want to play games. Imagine this, folks. You're in a boxing ring. You've been swinging for rounds, exhausted, bleeding, bruised. And the person in front of you, they're not even swinging back. They're just dodging, laughing, letting you wear yourself out. What happens when you stop throwing punches? What happens when you take a breath and walk out of the ring? They can't win if you don't play. That's the move they never expect. The move that makes them realize they lost you the moment you stopped reacting. And let's break another lie while we're here. They'll tell you silence is petty, that not responding is immature, that if you really cared, you'd talk it out. But here's the truth. Talking doesn't work with people who listen to reply, not to understand. Talking doesn't fix what disrespect has already broken. You're not being petty, you're being precise, with your energy, with your peace, with your time. They call it the silent treatment. We call it a boundary. Silence is not passive aggression. Silence is self-protection. And the moment you stop reacting, oh, they feel it. They feel it in the pit of their stomach when their text gets no reply. They feel it when their post goes unnoticed. They feel it when you don't show up where they expected you to. They feel the absence of your attention, like a void. Because for the first time, they can't predict you. And the unknown? That's terrifying to someone who once had control. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." And they crave your reaction, your emotional energy, your attention, because that's what they feed off. So starve the game, starve the cycle, starve the need to prove yourself. Because you don't need to prove anything to someone who made you question your worth in the first place. And here's the fun part, folks. When you stop reacting, you become a mystery. You go from too emotional to why are they so quiet? You go from predictable to powerful. Let them wonder. Let them refresh your profile. Let them ask mutual friends if you're okay. Let them sit in the silence they created and face the reflection of their own actions. You've stopped shouting to be heard. Now, your silence is the only thing they can hear. So if you're sitting there, feeling the urge to send that message, make that call, explain one last time, don't. Breathe. Let the stillness do the work for you. You don't need to fight to be understood. You just need to stand still long enough for your peace to speak for itself. Because the loudest thing you'll ever say is nothing at all. Say it with me. My silence is powerful. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. And stay with me, because next we're diving into a truth that's even harder to face. They were never confused. They were always in control. Until now. Number 2. They're not confused. They're just in control. Oh, they're not confused. They just like the power they have when you are. Let's break that lie right now, my friends. The one that's been poisoning your peace and dragging your heart through emotional chaos. They're just confused. They don't know what they want. They have a hard time expressing love. They're scared of getting hurt. No, they're not confused. They're calculated. They know exactly what they're doing. See, we paint people as broken to avoid admitting the truth. They're just in control. They're not stumbling through love blindly. They're keeping you just close enough to stay relevant, and just far enough to avoid accountability. That's not confusion. That's manipulation wrapped in charm. Hey folks, imagine this. You're standing at a bus stop. One bus keeps pulling up, opening the door halfway, then closing it again and driving off. Over and over, and you keep waiting. You tell yourself, maybe next time it'll stop. Maybe next time the door will stay open. Hours pass. Days pass. But the truth is, that bus was never planning to take you anywhere. It just wanted you to stand still. That's what they're doing. Hot and cold. Push and pull. A compliment here, silence there. A deep conversation one night, total distance the next. And you keep trying to decode it. You start questioning yourself. What did I say wrong? Maybe I came on too strong. Maybe if I just give them time. But the truth? You're not the confused one. You're just being played. Because people who are truly confused don't play games. People who care don't breadcrumb you. People who want something real don't keep you guessing. They show up, they try, they communicate. They don't confuse love with control. And you know what makes this worse? We're taught to romanticize it. We're told, if they're distant, it's because they've been hurt. If they're not ready, be patient. If they're inconsistent, it means they're fighting their feelings. No, my friends, inconsistency is not passion. Silence is not depth. Hot and cold is not love. It's a tactic, one designed to keep you emotionally unstable while they stay comfortably detached. It's like emotional fishing. They throw out the bait, you bite. They reel you in just enough. Then they let the line go slack. You panic, you chase, you start twisting yourself to fit into a space that was never meant for you. And they watch. Because as long as you're confused, they're in control. But the moment you stop reacting, the moment you stop asking questions, they never answer. The moment you stop trying to read between the lines, that's when everything changes. You break the rhythm. You interrupt the cycle. You pull the curtain back, and what you find isn't confusion. It's someone who knew all along that you'd chase as long as they gave you hope, that you'd stay as long as they kept you almost loved. But now you've found your clarity, and they've lost their grip. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." But that's the difference, my friends. You're seeking truth. They're seeking control. You're trying to build something real. They're trying to keep the upper hand. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to admit that someone you cared about didn't value you the way you hoped. It hurts to accept that the person who made you feel so seen one moment could disappear the next. It hurts to face the truth that they were never lost, just comfortable watching you get lost in them. But here's where you rise, because clarity is painful, but it's also the beginning of freedom. When you see through the fog, you stop chasing ghosts. You stop making excuses for someone who only shows up when it benefits them. You stop letting inconsistency pass for effort. And in that moment, the power shifts. They're the ones confused now. They're the ones wondering why the buttons they used to press don't work anymore. They're the ones who feel off balance because you're no longer dancing to their rhythm. And trust me, they'll notice. They'll try to rehook you. A random, "Hey, stranger" text. A story view after weeks of silence. A sudden apology that doesn't come with changed behavior. But now, you see through it. Because you've reclaimed your mind. And when your mind is clear, your heart finally follows. So let them sit in the confusion they once orchestrated. Let them feel the distance they created. Let them experience what it's like to lose access to someone who would have given them everything. If only they'd been real. Say it with me. They lost control when I found clarity. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. And stay with me, because what's coming next? Oh, it gets even deeper. We're about to talk about why their games only work when you keep playing them. Number 3. The mind games only work when you play. You can't win a game you were never meant to win, especially when the rules keep changing. Let's talk about it, my friends. The ghosting, the reappearing, the half-hearted, "Hey, how've you been?" out of nowhere. The story views, the cryptic quotes, the sudden silence followed by just enough attention to keep you hooked. And you sit there wondering, what does it all mean? Let me tell you what it means. It's a game, a carefully crafted, emotionally draining, mind-twisting game. And the only way it works is if you keep playing. Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into a room with a chessboard. You sit down, ready to play, focused, strategic, trying to win. But the person across from you, they flip the board, throw the pieces, and then walk off laughing. You're left sitting there, trying to set the game back up, trying to make it fair, trying to get them to play by the rules. But they never intended to play fair. They just wanted to watch you scramble. That's what these mind games are. It's not love. It's not confusion. It's entertainment for them. Because they know when to pull away, when to breadcrumb you, when to give you just enough to keep your heart open and your hope alive. They know how to leave you questioning your worth, spinning in circles, trying to fix what was never yours to fix. And why do they do it? Simple. Because it works. Because every time they post that sad quote or that throwback song, you view it, you wonder, you overthink, you react, you reach out. And in that moment, they win. Not because they care, but because they've got you right where they want you, emotionally available, mentally drained, energetically tied to someone who gives you nothing real in return. But here's the part that sets you free. Games only work on people who want to win. And you don't want to win anymore. You want peace. You want stability. You want love without the confusion. You want connection without the competition. You want something real, and real doesn't play games. See, they expect you to stay hooked, to keep checking their stories, to wonder why they haven't texted, to keep decoding mixed signals like it's some emotional puzzle you need to solve. But what happens when you stop? What happens when you go quiet? When you don't react? When you no longer respond to the bait? They lose their grip. Because the game doesn't work when the other player walks off the board. And let's be real, it's not easy. Because your ego wants closure. Your heart wants answers. Your mind wants to believe maybe this time they'll get it right. But you've been here before. You've watched this movie 100 times, and the ending never changes. It always ends with you hurt, confused, wondering if you were ever enough. And now, you're tired. Not just physically, soul tired. Tired of trying to prove your worth to someone who sees your love as a toy to be picked up and put down whenever it suits them. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And you know what mind games do? They fill your thoughts with chaos. They make you question your worth. They rob you of peace, sleep, and self-respect. But when you stop playing, when you stop reacting to their tricks, their silence, their sudden reappearances, you start to reclaim your clarity. You start to breathe again. You start to hear your own voice over the noise of their confusion. You start to live not from a place of, "What do they think of me?" but from, "What do I want? What do I deserve?" You stop fighting to be seen and start choosing to be invisible to the wrong people. Let them play alone. Let them keep posting. Let them keep guessing what you're thinking. Because the greatest mystery to someone who plays games, a person who doesn't respond. And when you stop feeding their ego, stop giving them the reaction they crave, they don't get satisfaction, they get silence. And silence, that's not emptiness, that's power. So from this day on, don't play the game. Don't fight for their attention. Don't try to out-manipulate the manipulator. You're not built for that. You're built for real. You're built for truth, for depth, for love that feels like peace, not war. Say it with me. I refuse to play. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. And stay with me, because what's coming next? We're diving into the most unexpected weapon you have, your calm. The very thing they laughed at is what will haunt them next. Number 4. Your calm is louder than any comeback. The calmer you are, the more dangerous you become. Let that sit with you for a second, my friends, because the world tells you that the loudest one wins, that the one who screams, argues, posts the most emotional story, sends the last message. That's the one who's winning the breakup, the argument, the power struggle. But let's be honest, they expect your rage. They expect your tears. They expect you to fall apart just enough for them to feel justified, just enough for them to twist the story and say, "See, look how crazy they get. Look how dramatic they are. I had to walk away." That's the setup. That's the trap. They bait you with silence, confusion, and passive aggression, waiting for you to explode, so they can wear the mask of the calm one while you're the one unraveling. But when you don't give them that, when you respond with stillness instead of screams, that's when the tables turn. Hey folks, imagine someone standing in a crowded room, shouting insults, trying to get a reaction. And you're sitting at a table, sipping your drink, unbothered, calm, eyes forward, emotionless. The crowd starts to shift. The energy changes, because now the person yelling looks desperate, and the quiet one looks powerful. That calm silence, that's the mirror, and they hate it, because now they're alone with their reflection. They can't hide from it. They can't project onto you. They can't twist your silence into something it's not, because silence doesn't lie. Silence doesn't defend itself. Silence doesn't need to. You've finally stopped defending your worth. You've stopped begging to be understood. You've stopped playing defense against someone who never deserved a single explanation. And now they're stuck. Stuck with the truth that used to hide behind your emotions. Because when you were angry, they could focus on your reaction instead of their actions. When you were crying, they could pretend they were the calm one. But now there's no more noise. Just your absence. Just your calm. Just the undeniable weight of your peace and the emptiness of theirs. And yes, it hurts. Let's not sugarcoat it. Staying calm when your heart is heavy, when your mind is spinning, when everything in you wants to scream, that's not easy. That's warrior-level self-control. That's discipline. That's power. Because people think calm means you're okay. But sometimes calm means, I've cried all my tears, and now I choose peace. Sometimes calm means, I've run out of words, and now I choose stillness. Sometimes calm means, I'm done playing small so someone else can feel big. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And when you stop reacting, when you stop trying to fix what broke you, when you stop allowing someone else to pull you into chaos, you find that strength. not in the fire, but in the stillness after the storm. They don't know what to do with your calm. It confuses them. It makes them wonder if you've moved on, if you've met someone else, if you've finally realized who you are and what you deserve. And guess what? You have. Because calm isn't indifference. It's clarity. It's confidence. It's finally realizing that chaos isn't love, and that you deserve better than someone who only responds when you fall apart. So don't let them drag you back into the storm just because they can't stand the sunshine you've found. Stay calm. Let them shout into silence. Let them refresh your page. Let them send messages you never answer. Let them sit in the mess they made while you sip your peace like the rare energy you are. Because you've changed now. You're not the same person who reacted to everything. You've grown. You've evolved. You've stopped arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. And that will always be louder than any comeback. So say it with me. I choose calm over chaos. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. And stay with me, because next we're going even deeper. We're about to talk about something most people misunderstand completely. Why detachment isn't cold. It's clarity. Number 5. Detachment isn't cold. It's clarity. You're not cold. You've just stopped setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. That one stings a bit, doesn't it, my friends? Because the moment you stop showing up the way you used to, the moment you stop pouring out your love, your energy, your time into people who didn't value it, they'll say, "You've changed. You're so cold now. You used to care more. You've shut down." But here's the truth. You didn't become cold. You became clear. You finally saw through the fog. You finally realized that explaining yourself to people who were never listening wasn't love. It was emotional labor you were never being paid for. Hey folks, imagine this. You've been standing in front of a crowd for hours, shouting into a broken microphone. Your voice is cracking, your throat is raw. You're trying to be heard. You're trying to make your point. But the crowd, they're scrolling their phones, talking over you, yawning, laughing, and suddenly you stop. You step off the stage. You walk away. Now everyone turns their head. Now they're listening. Now they're wondering why you stopped trying. That silence, that withdrawal, that's not bitterness. That's clarity. Because at some point you realize, if someone truly valued you, they wouldn't need you to perform for their attention. They wouldn't need you to keep proving your worth like it's on trial. They wouldn't only listen when you stop speaking. Some will say you've shut down, but no, you've just shut out the noise. You've closed the door on one-sided conversations, on empty apologies, on hot and cold confusion. And yeah, at first, it feels strange. You'll second-guess yourself. You'll hear that little voice. Maybe I'm being too distant. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe I should explain just one more time. But then you remember how many times you already have, how many chances you gave, how much you sacrificed just to be halfway seen. And you realize you're not being unfair. You're being honest. You don't have energy for people who only show up when they feel like it. You don't have time for connections that require constant maintenance just to survive. and your detachment. That's not cruelty. It's self-respect. It's waking up one day and choosing not to send the message, not to replay the conversation, not to ask why they disappeared again. It's choosing to preserve your peace over trying to decode someone else's mixed signals. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And when your thoughts are constantly centered around being good enough for someone who can't even meet you halfway, your soul starts to fade. But detachment brings it back. It gives you space. It gives you stillness. It gives you, the version of yourself that existed before you started shrinking just to fit into someone else's narrative. Let's be real. People loved you when you were soft, available, always ready to forgive. They loved you when you bent your boundaries to keep them comfortable, when you stayed, even when you were breaking. But the moment you stand firm, the moment you don't call back, the moment you stop explaining yourself, they call it cold. Because now they can't reach you. Because now your warmth is no longer on tap. But what they call cold is actually the result of healing. You're no longer emotionally available to chaos. You're no longer performing love to get a reaction. You're no longer playing the role of the fixer. And that clarity, that calm, silent, unapologetic clarity, that's what changes everything. Because you don't need to yell to be heard. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't need to break yourself just to keep others whole. Let them misunderstand you. Let them whisper that you've changed. Let them sit in the confusion they created. Because you've finally understood something they never will. That not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your energy. And not all love is worth fighting for. Say it with me. I'm not cold. I'm clear. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. And stay with me. Because next, we're talking about what happens when you stop explaining yourself and let your silence do all the talking. Number 6. They feel it when you stop explaining. You don't owe anyone a speech to justify your silence. Let's talk about it, my friends. Once upon a time, you were the explainer, the over-communicator, the one who sent paragraph after paragraph, trying to clear things up, trying to be understood. You thought maybe, just maybe, if you explained it right, if you said the perfect thing, if you were patient enough, calm enough, loving enough, they'd finally get it. But they never did. Not because your words weren't clear, but because their intentions never were. You defended yourself against lies they told about you. You broke down your boundaries so they'd feel safe. You poured out your heart just to be met with silence, indifference, or worse, gaslighting. And all that effort, all that emotional labor, it never brought you peace. It only left you drained. Hey folks, imagine this. You're on stage with a microphone, explaining your side of the story to an audience that's scrolling their phones, not listening, not caring. Every word you speak hits the wall and drops to the floor. No applause, no recognition, no effort to understand. So one day, you set the mic down and walk off stage. And now, suddenly, they want to hear you speak. That's how it works. They only feel it when you stop explaining. Because here's the truth. They were never confused. They just liked watching you struggle to make them understand. They liked the control, the emotional performance, the way you twisted your heart into poetry, hoping it would finally click. But now, you don't write essays. You send one-word replies. You don't chase. You fall back. You don't argue. You observe. And to them, that's jarring. Because when you stop giving them the script, they don't know what part to play anymore. They were never actually connected to you. They were connected to the access, to the emotional support, to the explanations that kept them from having to look at themselves. And now, without your voice guiding the story, they're lost. They don't know how to label you. They don't know what version of you to present to the world. They don't know what's going on in your mind. And that, my friends, terrifies them. Because your silence is a blank page they can't control. And a blank page is power. They can't twist your silence. They can't argue with it. They can't spin it into drama or manipulate it into guilt. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone does wrong, it is because they are mistaken about what is good." And some people, they truly believe that the louder you argue, the more you care, that the more you explain, the more they matter, that the more energy they can drain from you, the more power they hold. But silence breaks that illusion. You've realized something important. You don't have to fight to be understood. You don't have to stay in conversations that only go in circles. You don't have to scream your truth to people who've already decided not to hear it. Because peace isn't found in being right. It's found in being free. And now, you've found freedom. You've stopped giving them the emotional roadmap. You've stopped trying to make them feel what you feel. You've stopped performing love just to be seen. And that doesn't make you heartless. It makes you healed. Let them sit in the silence. Let them wonder. Let them feel the absence of your words. Because they never realized how much power you held until you stopped using it to defend yourself. So don't go back. Don't reopen the conversation just because they suddenly act confused. Don't hand them the script again. Let them write their own story this time, without you as the supporting character. Say it with me. I owe no one my explanation. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. And stay with me. Because next, we're talking about what happens when you truly stop chasing and start watching who was really holding on. Number 7. When you don't chase, they start reflecting. The one who walks away silently becomes unforgettable. Let's break this one open, my friends, because for so long you were the one chasing, reaching out first, sending the follow-up text, trying to fix the energy every time it shifted, holding on so tightly to a connection that should have been mutual, but somehow always felt one-sided. You chased not because you were weak, but because you cared, because you had hope, because you saw potential. But let's be honest, they knew. They always knew you were the one who would show up, apologize first, make things right, even when you weren't the one who broke it. And what did they do with that loyalty? They ran. They pulled away. They gave you crumbs and expected you to feel full. Here's the paradox. The more you chase, the more they run. Because people don't value what's always available. They don't reflect when you're always in their face, trying to fix things. They don't stop and think when you're always right behind them, picking up the pieces. But the moment you stop, the moment you don't call, the moment you don't reply, the moment you stop showing up, that's when they stop too. And finally, they look back. Why? Because now the game has changed. Now you're not chasing. Now you've gone silent. Now you've gone still. And that stillness, that mystery, it haunts them because they don't know what's going on in your head anymore. They don't know if you're done for good. They don't know if someone else has your attention. And that unknown, that's a power they never expected you to hold. Hey folks, imagine this. You're at a park, tossing a tennis ball for a dog. You throw it again and again, and the dog keeps running after it, tail wagging. Every throw, the same pattern. You have control. But suddenly, the dog just sits down, doesn't move, looks at you like, nope, I'm done. Now who's confused? Now who's wondering what happened? That's the shift. That's what happens when you stop chasing. Because chasing gives them reassurance. It tells them, you're still mine. I can still have you when I want. It feeds their ego. But when that chase stops, their ego starves. Their certainty collapses. Their reflection begins. Now they're the ones checking your profile. Now they're the ones watching your story. Now they're the ones wondering who you're talking to. But you're not playing that game anymore. You're not posting for attention. You're not throwing breadcrumbs. You're not living in the hopes they'll come running back. You're at peace. And that peace, that's magnetic. Marcus Aurelius once said, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." And now that you've stopped chasing chaos, you've found your harmony. You've found your center. You've found you, the version of yourself that no longer needs validation to feel whole. And don't get it twisted. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally care about yourself more. It means you're done proving your worth. It means your silence is no longer fear. It's power. It means you're no longer fighting to be seen by someone who only opened their eyes when they felt you slipping away. Let them reflect. Let them sit in the uncertainty. Let them wonder if they lost the one person who truly loved them, because chances are they did. And you don't need to chase. You attract. You attract peace. You attract respect. You attract real love. Not by begging, not by forcing, but by becoming the version of you that no longer runs after people who walk away too easily. You've made it to the end, my friends, and that means you're not just healing, you're transforming. Remember this: your silence, your calm, your peace, that's your power. You don't have to chase, you don't have to explain. You've outgrown the games, and now you rise. If this spoke to your soul, hit that like button, subscribe for more content just like this, and share this video with someone who needs the reminder. Your peace is priceless. Drop your affirmation in the comments. Show them, show yourself, and show the world.